participatory development today, and participatory development. We also have participatory learning and analysis. It's important. And there are some methods like PRA, IRA, principles, principles of participatory learning analysis, PLA. And then we talk about different tools of learning. Okay, so when you talk about the participatory development, we basically understand about empowerment of the community through participation. So that is the simplest definition and simplest understanding about participation or participatory development. Development could be possible through the participation of the community by empowering themselves uh, and become the beneficiary of the development. Now you see, uh, when we talk about the participation, so it is all about participation, participation of the community, right? And also NGOs are there to facilitate that participation, right? So we have certain methods and approaches to bring in the participation. But development is participatory when it will ensure the participation of the community. Then we have participatory learning and analysis. This is basically a spectrum under which we have this RRA and PRA. RRA is actually not participatory, but when you talk about RRA, that is a rapid rural analysis. Okay, rapid rural appraisal. So in this rapid rural appraisal, we basically have certain methods, typical framework of methods to understand the rural conditions and rural life. But when we talk about these PRA, so methods are not a typical, and methods are highly bottom-up approach. So those methods to analyze the rural condition, analyze the livelihood and the lifestyle of the rural people are taken and immersed from the very bottom, from the people itself. And they develop the methods at times, and they participate, they collaborate, no? And that's how they help us even to learn. So here the whole learning process is reverse. So it becomes reversal. The learning process. So we here as an NGO representative are not going to educate them how to do. Rather, we will facilitate them. Here our role will be a listener, kind and more of a listener than as a lecturer. So we'll be listening to their problem. Uh, uh, we'll be spending hours and hours with them. Then we try to find out their difficulties and problems, and also try to extract out information from them. So here you see when you talk about participatory learning and analysis, it got importance during 1980s. So prior to 1980s, we have RRA, that is reticular appraisal, that was pretty much used in all kind of research and development, and those methods and those frameworks are usually used by universities. So you use different methods to carry out survey and all. Like you have that focus group discussion, interview, personal interview, survey. These are some of the RRA approach, RRA approach. So this is a method-based approach instead of behavioral based approach. So here in PRA, we get to see a change from method to behavior and attitude change. So here you actually emphasize on changing of the attitude, changing of the behavior of the communities. We to hope you will study their lifestyle, study their life conditions, study the society, study the community. So I'm not talking simply about them, learning about them, but it is also learning by them, learning with them, and learning from them. So that's what will make it different PRA different from RRA, and participatory learning will be different from repeatable appraisal. And in 1970s, we had the repeatable appraisal. So mode of that learning is different. Users of that learning were different. Users were basically the universities, and your users are basically NGOs, and also is government organizations. Earlier, government organizations also invested up in repeatable appraisal, but now government organizations investing up and they focus on the PRA along with NGOs. The study that NGO is usually carry out is such that it needs to emphasize on PRA. That is also one thing. Then you see that the role of the actor, NGO representative, is more about facilitating, right? But other role of the university researchers or research scholar or the students is basically to investigate. We say we investigate. We go for field investigation. We go for field work. We carry out the survey. We design a questionnaire, semi-structured questionnaire, open-ended questions are designed, and then we go and ask. And those questions are basically designed based on secondary information, right? But here, instead of secondary analysis of secondary reports, which is also quite helpful, you cannot even simply get rid of and remove the importance of secondary information here in PRA. So it's not that you will completely erase out the information, importance of the secondary information, but the intensity of this primary sources are more. So intensity and magnitude of their importance to even involve in the study about themselves and help us also learn about them is more here. So here we actually see that in PRA there are some basic differences in PRA and RRA, and that you need to know. And also it is important that PRA is the brainchild of Robert Chamber. Robert Chamber was the British basically a social worker. It is the brainchild of British rural developers, Robert Chamber. So who worked on PRA, these are basically computer methods and approaches to understand the rural conditions, rural life by involving the community itself in in the whole process. Okay, and also it is about learning from them, learning with them, and learning by them. So we actually see that RRA was highly expensive. Even buying the secondary information, searching secondary information, then buying, sometimes you need to purchase also the archive and all. You need to purchase it for study purpose. It's expensive at times. But RRA is less expensive. PRA is less expensive because it is all about the people. You go to community, all you need is time. You need to have time with you so that you can go, you can intervene. But intervene, while I am talking about intervention has to be very minimal. So you cannot intervene in each and every incident about their livelihood matters the community. So there has to have minimum intervention. But you don't spend time. You need to have a rural camping also. So you have some understanding about rural camping. You need to break the ice. So so that you can prepare them to even share their information with you. Okay. So we have already come across this transit crop. Transit crop is also part of RRA. Rapid Rural Appraisal Transit crop. We usually go and walk into the villages and try to meet the key informants. And key informants interview is also one kind of method. It's a part of RRA. So RRA will be the extension of the RRA. The another definition or maybe an appropriate definition of PRA, extension of the RRA and giving the scope to people to involve. Okay, because here you also see the outcome of both these approaches will be different. So outcome of RRA will be the project and also publications. And here the outcome of PRA will be the empowerment of the community, creating a sustainable institution and also sustainable leadership building, that too in the village. So outcome of both the project, both the appraisal method and both this analysis will be different. And anyhow, we also see that RRA emphasize more on appraisal. Appraisal in the sense, you simply find out the responses and you uh, analyze, analyze to certain extent. But here in PRA, you actually go to the extent of monitoring and evaluation. That's why we have been emphasizing in some of the approaches. We also have a deeper research, monitoring, and evaluation because you are emphasizing more on planning, how you plan out along with people, then you implement it, then you monitor the changes that has occurred over the years or in that new occurrence of the project and you evaluate the result. Okay. So objective is also at the same time you see the objective of PRA is basically to elicit information. Now RRA. And objective of PRA is to facilitate the people, empower the people. So from eliciting information, we have shifted to empowerment of the population and also facilitating the population. So the whole methods are using NGO driven. So we talk about the methods and the approaches which are NGO driven, which are also NGO oriented. So it could be facilitated, it could be used by NGO and civil society organization only because their basic goal is not limited to finding out the information but to bring change. But here at university, we cannot go to that extent to bring change because of the limited resources. And also, you see, involving people to any kind of project requires funding and all. So NGOs are basically funded to carry out this kind of project. Huh. So our RRA approach, although it is said that it is expensive huh, and it is limited in terms of outcome, we also see that RRA has been used now also in university, like scenario we get to see use of RRA, and we are not that familiar with PRA approach. So we usually use the RRA. But you see, there are some methods, some approaches of the PRA which also we can adopt in university research, any kind of research and analysis, research and development. We can use some of the methods of the PRA. Triangulation method we usually use. You might have heard about triangulation, where you actually change the sources, change the learning team, and also change the method which you usually use. Suppose in carrying out a survey uh, of social media uses across Sonitpur district, so you usually carry a survey method. So you have a distinguished demographic group across which you will distribute the questionnaire. You basically draw a questionnaire and then you distribute the questionnaire to find out the changing habit and aptitude after the use of the social media. And over a period of time, you will take a time frame and you will have a distinguished demographic group. Right, and that's how you will proceed. But here, in terms of PRA, what you will do, you will actually go, you will find out, you will uh, not restrict yourself to study their uses habit. Okay, and you will try to locate it with uh, the available institutions in which they use the social media, like whether they use social media at home, at internet kiosk, at even like we see this other in university. And also the kind of change over the years and not simply on the basis of their ranking, you know. So you will have different methods to understand, like different metrics you will have. You will have a calendar, you will have a matrix, you will have a historical mapping also. Okay. Over the social media, over the years, social media users in that particular locality, like there were no social media 10, 20 years back in that locality, then PC might have come, then you can have a resource mapping of that particular area. So you can use that way also. You cannot simply dilute the importance of PRA in universities at the same time. So you see that the principle of participatory learning and analysis will be that first principle reverse learning works. Offsetting bias is very important. We often say offset bias. Offset bias is like you are not into that lecturing mode. When you go to the people, you are not into the lecturing mode. You basically will go and listen to them to offset the biases. You listen to them so that they would open up. And reverse learning, which is also possible. These are some of the principles. Reverse learning, offset learning. Then you also talk about the topical PRA. That is also another principle. Topical PRA, or you also see that deductive PRA. Now, topical PRA, when you get extensive information on one particular topic which is related to one problem of that community or village. So you get extensive information and you gain those information from number of methods, not simply one particular method through survey, through transit work, through interviewing the key informant, but you go through resource mapping, through social mapping, even through matrix, through Venn diagram. You try to find out lot of information, gain lot of information about one problem, one topic, about topic that village, about problem that village is suffering in that villagers are suffering in that over the years. So that issue might be different. Okay, so not necessarily that village might have different problems. So accordingly, you will focus on one issues, one topic. Then we also have deductive PRA. Deductive PRA is different from topical PRA because in certain incidents, right? We have that riots, communal riots, we talk about violences, any kind of conflict and war happens. So it's very difficult to even gain information from the people and ask questions to people. Even if you ask questions, you will not get the responses, desired responses. So you focus not on the key informant, the same time, the one whom you will interview, but you focus on who are the sufferers, who are being affected. So survey will be the basic tool and empowering them will be the basic tool. And while in the process of empowering, you will use different methods and gain understanding about that issue that lead to communal violence, communal riot, any kind of war through resource mapping, through social mapping. Okay. So not simply asking some question to the village heads or sarpans or youth leaders or some of the key group leaders of that village. So you are focusing on who are being affected. But your aim is to find out the cause of that problem. Find out the cause of that riot. Find out the cause of that violence. Okay, that is your focus. That is your objective. But although your objective is to find out the cause of the violence, you are focusing on what? You are focusing on those who are being affected, because it is very difficult to get the information, first-hand information from the key informants, and hence you spend time with them, you map the resource, map the societal infrastructures, and a pattern, crop pattern, various kind of diseases, various kind of riots. Even you actually have a historical mapping, riots, some incidences happened in the past, and their reaction to it, number of people which are being killed. Like that way, you can draw it, you can draw some resources, you can map the history along with the people and gain information from them. Okay, so that is also one PRA matter, that is called deductive PRA. We also have exploratory PRA. Normally, you see that in natural resource sector, understanding the natural resource, agriculture, animal husbandry. So we usually, those NGOs usually use the PRA. Okay. So, and they usually use the exploratory PRA. This is called exploratory survey. So it is different from the topical and deductive PRA. So you need to find out the disease pattern of the livestock in a village. So that is an exploratory PR. You need to find out uh, you see the rainfall for a period of time, percentage of rainfall for a period of time from last 5 to 6 years till now. So you need to find out even the gender-based workload in agricultural sector and non-agricultural sector. Okay, and you see, you need to find out some of the you see health outcome of the curative methods which are being taken in response to different diseases over the years. So for these very incidences, NGOs usually carry out an exploratory survey using this PRA. We talk about different matters. We will be discussing about the tools. When we discuss about the tools, you will have a clear understanding. You perhaps have already executed those tools. You have executed your understanding. Right? So this is important. And then how participate when you talk about participatory development, uh, how how do you understand participation? It is important. How do you understand participation? What is participation? So we also see that participation can be very induced, right? It can be involuntary at times. It can be transient in nature. Transient, when we talk about transient participation, it is more about induced by your self-interest. It's motivated by self-interest. Huh. And it is also equal to or near to voluntary participation. But we can understand participation by these three divisions. One is involuntary, when actually there is no motivation to participation. We actually talk about anti-participation. Anti-participation that an Nigerian outside organization usually come and impose villagers and that too via the serpents and village head to participate in any meeting, even if they are not motivated, they are participating in it. That is actually anti-participation. So you are also making people participate against their motivation. So they are not motivated to participate, but you need to know the definite cause of motivation, the definite cause of non-participation, why they don't want to participate, and then you need to like have some plan to bring in participation. Then you see that zero participation. Zero participation is equal to non-participation. That you won't participate at all. That is zero participation. We also have participation in terms of information sharing. So not beyond that. So you can ensure the participation of the villagers simply by sharing the information. You in that case you have a questionnaire. So they will fill up the questionnaire. They will fill some of the questions, give some of the information and the responses to your query. So that is basically participation by information sharing. Or participation by consent is also there. Suppose there is any kind of you see social infrastructure is going to build up, then you will get the participation, you will get the approval from the villagers. That is also another kind of participation by giving the consent that you have given consent to build that social infrastructure, build a house, and also participation. You also see participation by material incentive. This is usually done by the villagers, material incentive. Somebody uh, can give cash, someone can give this land, someone can give other raw materials, someone can supply the food during construction of any plants or any small scale infrastructures which can be borne by the villagers, which can be owned later on by the villagers. So in that case, you see, participation can be achieved by sharing the material incentives. So in that way, you could actually see there are levels of participation, layers of participation. And at the highest level, we have the autonomous action. Autonomous action is basically independent of any external body's interventions. You initiate, that villagers initiate, self-initiate any kind of project, any kind of plan, any kind of installation or infrastructure. So that is different from, you see, the other form of participation. In zero participation, you don't have any participation. In passive participation is also amount to involuntary participation. Passive participation. So perhaps this is equivalent to anti-participation also, because participation is imposed upon them and they are attending the meeting, but actually they are not participating. So anti-participation, passive participation, zero participation is there. Then on the level of participation, you can actually see by sharing information, by giving a consent, by putting a signature, okay, and also you can see by sharing material incentives, you can extend participation to any kind of project and etc. Then you also see that what is important here is a bit of history. First, we have seen 1970s, 1980s, 1990, 1985. This is important, 1988. 1985, there is an important development happens related to participation, participatory development in Trondheim, Trondheim International Conference. That the international conference first invested on the term called participation, but that the participatory development came in, that is an international conference, okay, and 1985. But participatory development, participatory approach to development was issued in 1980s, but it was not mentioned where it was originated. But in most of the literature you can find that it was basically originated in 1980s. Perhaps the first use of participation, that were the terminology, came in Pontine International Conference. And then for the second time it was used in 1988 in International Institute of Environment and Development. There is a conference organized by, sponsored by International Institute of Environment and Development. They worked on participatory approaches. Uh, and it is also said the father of participatory approach is Robert. Sorry. Right. So, uh, we need to know the rules of participation, how many rules of participation you are aware of basically. Three types of participation. Huh? Three types of participation. Right? There are three types of participation. Three types of participation. Right? What was the question that you asked? Tools of participation. Tools of PRA. Sorry. So focus group discussion. Yeah, focus group discussion. These are actually part of material advising. Okay. So see, there is a shift in the matter. Earlier we focus only on the method. Which method you have applied or used to extract the information, get the responses. We talk about focus group discussion, but it is also relevant PRA tool. It's a relevant PRA tool because we are not eliminating the tools which are already been used in the rapid real appraisal. So uh, participatory real appraisal is an extension of rapid real appraisal. But your emphasis is more on urban living, urban study. So we will discuss some of the tools like we say the timeline study. Timeline study. Timeline study basically it's a kind of historical method where you focus on not only on this folklore, Uber, okay, and even some of the ancestral land, na, which is connected to some of the spiritual activities of the villagers. Okay, in historical mapping, basically you focus on the use of Uber and folklore to study, right? Because these are related to some of the practices, morals of the villagers, which bind them together. So here in timeline study, we basically have a timeline of some major occurrences in that villages. So you have a timeline of major occurrences of last 4 to 5 years, suppose, or even 10 years. So it's very easy. So you draw a timeline of major occurrences. You might also keep it. You can keep it month-wise, or you can keep it year-wise. Okay. If you have taken more than, you say, 20 years, then you can keep it year-wise. Or if you have taken 5 years, then you can also break it to month-wise. That you can have a timeline starting of the major incidences or major instances occurred in the village. So, select let's draw whichever will draw timeline. Like that, year wise you can draw. Then you can have month wise you can draw. Then like that you can write down major instances. And then you can have historical mapping. This is also part of historical mapping. In historical mapping, what you can do, the connection is either the history of that community. So history of the community can also be studied differently, but you cannot map the history without the involvement of the community. So you can invite the community, mobilize the community, and let them draw the history on the ground. Okay. Let them draw some of the like proverb, or let them sing any folklore. Okay, and also you simply give that folklore a number or a letter, and you write it down. Okay, that's how you can involve them into map the history, and meanwhile you are also gaining from their knowledge. Okay, so like that way you can have a historical mapping. Historical mapping, after that you also resource mapping. Resource mapping is all about available resources in the community. Resources, uh, institutions, their benefits, number of wealth, and Bakka road, Kacha road, part of social mapping. Resource mapping and social mapping are similar. But here, see, in social mapping, you focus on housing pattern. So here in resource mapping, you focus on kacha houses, pakka houses. But here in social mapping, you will also have further stratification and categorization of houses on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion, on the basis of ethnicity. Okay, so you can have more stratification in social mapping. The resource mapping, number of rivers in the village, number of poultry farms in the village, number of schools, so you can map out. Okay, that is there is a location. You can map this, you can draw this along with it. So, so you can simply draw like this. How many benefits? Like that benefit. Start with that. You draw these are the benefits. These are the houses. Then you can keep these are the houses. These are the benefits. Then you see this is the river. That way you can map. So you can map out the resources in one particular community. Then resource mapping is interesting at the same time. So you can also put number of, you can say north, south, east, west, like that way. So in this site you have like 3, 4 rivers that flowing out. There is also inflow and outflow diagram through which you can even make the villagers to find out the resources which are like which are coming from outside. That is the inflow of the resources. And there are some resources which have goods, products, services which have actually delivered from the villages to outsiders or export from the villages to outsiders. Like inflow, outflow. map could also be drawn uh, along with this resource mapping. So you can have directions and accordingly you can draw the map. This is how you will not draw, you will not involve in drawing, you will make the people draw the resources. And then accordingly you will have an investigation whether it is matching with your secondary information or not. Okay. Then after what you have is social mapping is also equivalent. You have matrix ranking. Matrix ranking is about this top board over the years. You can actually create a matrix, and it is a process by which you can compare different features of one phenomenon. Okay, so suppose uh, phenomenon is the livestock. Different kind of livestock are there. Goat, other you have goat, cow, other cattle, etc., etc. Then how these animal livestock are being used? That you put. Whether they are being used as a helper, used for food, uh, used in a farmland, okay, and their disease resistance, okay, the milk that they eat, okay, like that way you can have different items, separate items each. So here you can write down the number of livestock, like goat, cow, then horse, so other cattle, that, okay, and then what you can have that with beans as a helper, or manure you use, or you usually basically use as a labor incentive device, incentive device, or we use for taste, or even for as a food, okay, for even selling purpose, like that way. What you will do, you can give some number. Not you will give, you will tell villagers to give a rank to this matrix. It is said that from your villagers, they usually give a rank 5 out of 10. Like that, they can give the rank. That means 8 from a goat by that community. Huh. And that too in a week or in a month. They can give some of the number. And then at the end, what they will do, they will basically count the number. They will count the number. Like, against goat, if 5 marks gain, as a helper, goats are not used as a helper because it cannot carry loads, so we have 1 marks. And then as a manure, such extent, 3 marks. Labor intensity price, maybe 1 mark. Then you can actually see the taste of food, you can be 9. And then selling, maybe another 8. Now you count it. You can write the percentage. Okay, and you count the percentage, and this will be your investigation. Your investigation, because it is done by them. This ranking is done by them. Score is given by the community. So the score that they have given, the calculated score will be your result. Okay, of the matrix. So like that, you can have matrix ranking, and suppose you can have a variety of cows in age, Jersey cows, Jersey cows, and ghee cows, and you find out milk is by Jersey cows, Jersey cows, and big rank, and also disease resistance of the Jersey cow, this is Jersey cow, porcine, that way. You can give a rank. So what you can do, you can compare the features of one phenomenon which you have taken, one item that you have taken, compare different features, and you can calculate the rank which is given by the community. Okay, so that kind of matrix ranking is another PRA tool. Apart from resource mapping is very easy, and normally what we want community to do is to use the materials that they use every day. like rangoli they use, right? Chalk they use. So you can also carry rangoli, chalk, and this erasers, then this what scissor, pen, etc. Some of this chart paper, which will be useful even to draw the Venn diagram. Venn diagram is also another tool. Venn diagram, where you actually draw some diagram of the institutions which are available in the villages. And based on the significance and priority of the institution, you can draw the size of the institution. Suppose the police station, where it is located and how important it is for the people, whether it is accessible to the villagers or not. Based on that, you can decide the size of that diagram, size of that circle. So we have that society here. So the thing is that because of this whiteboard, I'm able to draw. So if this is the society, one whole big cycle is the society. Inside that society cycle, you have different institutions like police station, like public health center, like dispensaries, like cooperative banks, like schools, okay, like hospitals, you will draw like mandal office, servants office, and you have the committee, village level committee. So you draw different circle, and how these institutions are accessible, how far these institutions are accessible to the people, will also be decided by the size of the circle. Okay, suppose police station is not accessible because no police is usually found in the daytime. So you can actually draw a very small circle. Or PHE is not accessible for the people. So you can also make it PHE, that public health center is not accessible, make a smaller circle, a public health center. Suppose that's education, that school is not accessible for the people because there is no teachers, there are teachers absent in that school. You can draw a smaller circle of this school because the service cannot be relatable to the village household. So based on the services of those institutions, whether it is relevant and relatable and accessible to the population of the village or not, you will draw some circle and you will give a size to the circle, give a magnitude to the circle. Okay, so that is about the Venn diagram. That is another Venn diagram. Exam, do we have exam? Yeah, I will. Okay, so Venn diagram is basically see, this is the, I will draw it. Suppose if this is the society, okay, this is the big boy circle, this is the society. Okay, this is the society. So I'll give you some materials. And then you can draw the circle. This is the village level committee which is accessible to all. This is the committee. But committee is also linked to school. Committee linked to suppose the public health center. Then you have a police station. So the bigger the circle, it is much more accessible and relatable to the services that people require. Okay, so this is the Venn diagram, and then you have seasonal calendar. Seasonal calendar I have already told you how to about the rainfall pattern over the years. So you develop a seasonal calendar, year-wise, month-wise, rainfall pattern in the village. It's better if you draw. I'll also show you some of the pictures. So it's better if you draw seasonal calendar. Okay. So seasonal calendar of any kind of disease within the same matrix ranking, or see that disease which is being grown over the years. So in seasonal calendar, there are different items. Not only on one items you will work on a calendar, you will make a calendar. You will have number of items. Okay, which will be required to place in the seasonal calendar month wise. Rainfall, the crop grown over the years, the gender workload over the years. Then you also see that animal husbandry over the years and any kind of disease that they have suffered from over the years and it's the kind of services and the schemes we have got from the government over the years. Okay, and also kind of social infrastructures if are built and installed over the years. So you can have a seasonal calendar of the necessary items, not on one items. You can have a matrix ranking of one items, but you can have seasonal calendar of many items, many resources available in the villages, many social resources available in the villages over the years. So this is basically to understand the pattern of the crop growth, pattern of the disease controlled over the years, pattern of the fodder available over the years, pattern of the wheat and hay which is being taken by the villagers and got over the years, financial inclusion over the years, so could also be drawn. Okay, so there, like the scheme, you see the resource mapping, you can have the same seasonal calendar year-wise and month-wise divided. But in resource mapping, it is easier that you can simply draw the resources, not you will draw, you can make the villager draw the resources available in that villages by themselves. So they will give some icon to different resources. House will be like that. Okay. Or even with the help of those pulses also you can draw the resources. Different pulses are available. You can draw the resources. Okay. So this suppose is one pulse is used, even chawal is used for kacha house. This is used for another pakka house. So simply to give like them understanding so that they could understand their own problem, own conditions. Okay, most of the people are not that failure to ask to even you see divulge out information. They won't divulge out information. They will share information even if they know. So we learn from them. We earn knowledge from them. We gain from their knowledge. It is more about you see changing their behavior than even earning knowledge. Because we earn their knowledge and we also facilitate changing their behavior, changing their life condition. Okay. So then to have some PRA now, this is also very important for kids. PRA is very important for kids. This should be executed by schools also. You can have some school visit. So you can teach schools, even school children about the PRA and you can help them to understand the resources in that locality, understand the social infrastructure in that locality. So because we adults usually know, because we have that mobility factor. Kids do not have that mobility because of security issues. So make them understand about the available resources in that locality. Okay, so you can also have a survey, you can visit some schools in the rural areas, make them understand, and taking some of the kids to also help resource mapping and social mapping, and you take a photograph of it. You can have an exercise. So if you do this exercise, then there will be no exam. Yeah. Written. Written, all written. Sufficient number of classes are taken. So yeah, all written. For midterm, your syllabus is already being covered and more than it is covered. Okay. So this may not come, may also come, may not also come. It depends on the